Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Ocran, welcoming you on behalf of Team Springboard led by Comfort. This is your most inspirational show and the point of convergence for the greatest minds. Your virtual university is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse, the Enterprise Group, UMB Bank, with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. Today we continue our series in the Engine Room, Season 2 of the Engine Room, and we have with me a big friend of mine, and we are trying to explore the story behind the story, the tears, the joys, the learnings, the planning, the ups and downs you normally would not find in any publication. Ivan Quashigah is the CEO of Farmhouse Productions. You know Farmhouse for what they do in corporate productions, including advertising, documentaries, events, TV series, and of course, film production. Ivan, good to see you today.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure is mine.
Thanks for making time to swing by.
Thank you.
So much that we want to explore, not just about your industry, but about your person as you try to find out what is the secret of the Engine Room. Let's go back to where it all began. Your childhood and your introduction to what you do today. Where did it begin?
I was born in Kita, and incidentally, our house was next to a cinema house called Croydon. At the time I was growing up, it had closed down, but across the road was another one called Premier. And so I went to school, AME Zion Primary School. But then the area that we were at seemed to be the entertainment hub of the town. You know, Kita was a very commercial town because of the surf port. There was a harbor, though it wasn't really a built harbor, but ships used to come close to shore, and then the people would go and bring goods in. So Kita had a lot of big warehouses, UAC, Yard, GB Oliver, and John Holt. I mean, it was a bustling town. So as a result of that, there were lots of traders that came from all parts of West Africa to Kita Market. Kita Market was the biggest in almost West Africa at the time. So the entertainment hub was where I was born. And so it meant that we saw a lot of things happening. We saw shows, entertainment, concerts, we saw film shows and all that. And so it meant that I was somehow quite close to what I am doing now, even when I was very young. So one of the significant things that we used to do when I was growing up, whenever we heard of a cinema a show coming, we would go and pick up the board, the cinema board, and we would negotiate with the people bringing the promoters. Then we took the board to town, and then we'll be ringing a bell, and we will make a lot of noise, you know, like cinema, eleketa, you know, there was a song we used to sing. Yes, we used to sing the song. It was more like it wasn't a chant or
I
something.
like Eve very much. So anybody who comes with Eve, I'll push you further. Sing
It's cinema, eleketa, eshileton, meaning that there is cinema in Kita, and the price is 20 pesos, 30 pesos, you know, and so it's all like an advertising slogan that we had that we were singing along as we went.
And you negotiate? And
people would stop us and ask to see the board. Then when we finish in the evenings, whenever we finished and the film was about to be shown, then we would go to the gate, and then we were allowed to go in to watch for free because that was our pay for taking the board around town. And so we watched this film, and then we come home, and then we now retell the story we use paper cuttings, so cardboards, and then we'll stick broomsticks on it, put it in a box, like we are showing our own film. And we also do create our own poster that there will be a film show in our house, and all the young people in the neighborhood would come. And when they come, one of our cousins will be on the gate, and he will be taking the gate fees. And the gate fees include bofrot, sugarcane, anything that the parents of these young...
Amazing. I mean, you're telling it so in such a simple way, but I'm just seeing the educational, the socialization, the orientation of business
Yes.
in a very informal relaxed way.
Yes.
And it's amazing how that has defined your career. You're telling me that really what you were doing
I was doing advertising.
First advertising.
Yes.
Then you were doing film, you
Yes.
were watching, then you're trying to replicate production by mimicking the film, even though with broomsticks and cardboard.
Yes.
And then you also were commercializing it because you're getting people to watch, even though they were paying with buffalo and sugarcane. But at least the whole idea of trade, of business, of film, of advertising, in an informal way, for me is very eye-catching because it just reminds me that these big things that we talk about can be taught to children in a very relaxed, informal way, in a way that they can relate to, and that can really go on to define their careers. So what next? How did that translate into?
Right. So whilst that was going on, the sea erosion too was taking place. I went through primary school, and then I entered into junior secondary school. I grew up with maternal aunties, and then my grandfather had a business, a transport business that was flying Accra and Kita. So my uncles were involved in driving the buses to Accra. So my uncle had this sound system, and then we would go and rent a place like Rose Pavilion, and then he would do a record jam. My job was to write the posters. Okay. So I was already doing advertising then. So the posters we would do with ink, but then I think that at that time I was thinking, how can I come up with a headline that will be eye-catchy, that will draw people in and get them to know exactly what is going to happen by just first look, as soon as you see it, it should grab you. And then at that time, Bob Marley's music was reggae music was big then. So when there were these record jams, it was mainly Bob Marley's music they would be playing. So I would write a poster, One Drop. That is a title from Bob Marley's song. Yeah, I remember one. Jam Naya Bingi. Those kind of things. And so you see it immediately, there's going to be a record jam. It's going to be mainly reggae music. And then I'll put a date and time and venue and all those things.
Did you ever get to act yourself in any film or drama or anything?
Yes. When I was in school, I was acting, especially in the junior secondary school. I used to act a lot in most of the plays. And any play I acted, the name I used would be my name till the next play. So...
Tell me something.
So there was this one. There's some of the names I won't say.
Those are exactly the ones we want. The ones we didn't say.
Because I don't want people calling me.
No, but I'll call your old classmates. They'll tell me.
Yeah, but what we used to do, stage plays, but then I would add things to it. So because I used to come to Accra a lot for my holidays with my mom, so I would watch Thursday theater and pick learnings from that and deploy those into the plays that we were acting. So there could be a play, there's a teacher teaching us what to do, but when it comes to my turn, I was left to add my own creativity to it. So, for instance, there was a part I played as an army officer, and I would bring costume and things to show, and then add things into it that would stand out. And so, what do they call it? Left, right, left, right. Instead of left, right, for them to mark time, I turn it into minyani makpo, which means you have to stamp your feet, things like that. So it becomes minyani makpo. You mash the clay with your feet.
Right.
That is what I would bring in. And then there was Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times. There was, yeah, you remember that song? I didn't do it, but I picked it from Thursday Theater, introduced it into a play, because I was something like a gossip. So my news is the newspaper, which is the gossip. So I bring that in and it blows. So I was doing that, but then the headmaster of the school, junior secondary school, the late Kofi Nyavi, spotted me, because I had gone to the school to ask for admission by myself. My grandfather thought I should go to middle school. So he had paid already for the Zion Middle School to go there. And when I got back from Accra, I was sent straight to that place, and I went there for 1 week. But most of my mates that I was in class with in the primary had gone to junior secondary school. So whenever I was coming from Kita towards Jelikope to where I was living, I would meet them on the way, and they were telling me about how good their new school is and all that. So one day I just branched off there and went to the headmaster and said, I want admission. And then he said, oh, well, the place was full, but what's your name? I mentioned my name. He said, oh, he knew my grandfather. And where do you live? So he gave me a book to read. I read it. He said I read better than the people that they've admitted. So if there was a chance, he was going to invite me. So he asked for where I lived. And you just have to mention the house, and then everybody knew. So I said I was living in this house, and he said, okay. About a week later, he showed up that, hey, there's a spot. Would you want to come? I said yes. So I went there. It's the experimental junior secondary school, so it was a pilot. It wasn't well known, and so people did not quite understand the concept. So I started schooling for about 2 weeks, and then I was given a bill, the school fees. That was when I realized, oh, they have to pay school. So I took it to my grandfather. My grandfather hit the roof. That I've paid already for middle school. Why are you changing your school? Who told you to change school? But I liked it. I wanted a new challenge. So eventually he was convinced that I should. So he paid. And then I continued the school. The headmaster became my mentor. He was teaching me poetry. He would read it to me, and he would perform it to me. And then he would give it to me to also perform to him. And so we were at that level, and he made it such that I was interested in going to the library every day because I wanted to impress him, and read and show him what new things I'm reading and all that. And then he would also give me new things to go and read. And that actually grounded me in wanting to continue to be reading all the time.
Talking about reading, did you find that some of these foundations opened doors for you to become what you are today?
Well, definitely, because when I met my mentor that introduced me into film,
and who was that?
Mr. Atuyani, the late Mr. Atuyani, the first interest that we had was the fact that we were able to connect on books that we've read. So he would mention an African writer, and I'm like, oh, I've read this book of his, and that book, and that book, and that book. And we would discuss the books. And he found out that I was quite deep in these things, that I was very happy to discuss them. And I brought out issues that he didn't know that at my age I would.
About how old were you then?
I think I must have been like 16, 17.
And what was Atuyani doing?
Atuyani had retired from Ghana Films. He was one of the first Ghanaian film directors and writers. He wrote Genesis Chapter X.
I know that film.
And then he did His Majesty's Sergeant, that he produced and directed that film. So and then he also did a lot of documentary films. He did a documentary film in the Kita area called Market Day, which is one of the best documentary films at that time. So we talked about all these things and my interest in the creative arts. Then I didn't know that there was a school that you could go to learn filmmaking. But because of my interest in it, he invited me on a set, which is, he was shooting what was to be the first video production, feature film shot on video. It was called The Last Show, and it was being produced by one Mr. Alan Jima, the late Alan Jima.
Great friends, the whole family, great friends of mine.
Yeah, Video City.
Right.
So he was producing it, and this man, Mr. Atuyani, invited me to their set on, I think we were shooting at Dansoman Beach or Kokro Beach or something like that. And in fact, on that set, I saw all the icons that are people that I really admired on television. Grace Omabo, David Dontor, George Williams, Lola Everett, they were all there. And I saw them in flesh and blood, and I was so blown away. And I loved it. And so he invited me again to the shoot of an advert, Star Beer commercial for Lintas. And then I didn't know anything about Lintas. But then we were shooting at a nightclub called Blow Up around Circle. I was very, very young. And he gave me the breakdown. He gave me the script, and we were doing the breakdown. And he showed me what he wanted. And then within a few minutes, I got it quickly and put it together.
You know, as you talk about this, sorry to interrupt you, but as you talk about this, I'm just sitting here thinking, you know what? It's almost like a divine hand steering you. I mean, everything you talk about, it's almost like either two things, either a jigsaw puzzle, and anytime you put one down, the picture becomes clearer.
Yeah.
Or literally like an unseen hand just guiding
me
to a
through
certain
it.
destiny.
Yes.
Is that how you feel about your life?
Yes, that's how I feel. Because honestly, I just mentioned that we did one of the first commercials that I worked on was a Star Beer commercial being produced by Lintas for KBL at the time. And years down the line, I ended up working at Lintas for a long time. So, I mean, it's mind-blowing
Everything
to know.
you describe comes together in who you are today, from your childhood, from the film, from the advertising, from the commercialization, from writing posters trying to get the script, and you're using all these skills. Do you feel blessed?
Yeah, sometimes when people ask me, what other job do you think you can do? I can't think of anything else. Right. Because, I mean, this is what makes me happy. Yeah, I can do it for 24 hours and I won't feel tired. I just love it.
So beyond the natural love, let's talk about education. You mentioned at the time that you didn't know that there was a place that you could even go to do film. I mean, you've described what brought you into the industry naturally. Let's go to the formal education bit of it. Yeah. So you went to NAFTI?
Yes, so I went to NAFTI. So at the time I went to sixth form at Aquinas Secondary School, from Kitasco to Aquinas, and then I was school prefect of Aquinas. It's not heard of that you haven't done Form 1 to 5. You normally would have to do Form 1 to 5 before you become head boy. But I managed it. I won school prefect. So that's that. But after NAFTI, after Aquinas Secondary School, I opted to go to NAFTI because Mr. Atuyani took me to the school. We were editing the Star Beer commercial there. And I saw the facilities. And one interesting thing is that from the moment you enter reception to everywhere is air conditioned. I mean, the
way from Kita was a good way.
I was like, what? I mean, this is a school and it's so well organized, so many equipment, everything was at your disposal. So I saw Ken Kujoji, who is popularly called Ken Shen. He was in Kitasco briefly, and I recognized him, and he said he was a student of the school, and then I started asking him questions about it. He took me to Samia Danu, who also gave me a lot of insights about the school, and I said, no, let's forget about this. Going to university, let's quickly go to NAFTI.
Would it mean that in making that move, there were doubts in your mind or in the minds of the people that you were with?
In fact, everybody thought I was going to go to university to do law.
Did they discourage you?
And lots of people were thinking that I was going to be an actor. They didn't know that NAFTI is not an acting school. It's a filmmaking school, and it's a lot more. There's a lot more to film making than I mean, right now, lots of people know about it. But then, not many people knew. So they were at a loss as to why I would want to go to a school like NAFTI. You know, and the only thing they know about NAFTI was Time with NAFTI, which showed on Ghana GTV at the time once in a while. So not many people knew much about it.
But it's interesting that now, I mean, if somebody was going to be an actor, it's a big thing.
It's a big thing.
But then it
wasn't, yes. So again, you know, you choose a path for yourself that you want to go, and people doubt and they pull you back. People actually laughed, I mean, at me, my decision to go to NAFTI.
So what kept you going?
I had a passion for it. That is what I want to do. And I quickly, having asked so many questions and knowing so much, I started looking at films differently. I would watch films, and at the end of it, I want to know who are the producers, directors, and of that film and all that. So I was so much into it that nothing was going to change my mind.
Right. How was the time in NAFTI? Was it exciting? Was it smooth sailing?
It was supposed to be exciting, but even before I stepped foot in NAFTI, I had a big problem, which my dad was in the government of the PNDC government. He was the chief of operations at the time, and then he had a problem when he was
some major
yes, when he was
later to become minister of agric
and
was very
later health,
right, but very, very light.
Yeah,
right.
So he was detained for obvious reasons. They thought that he was planning a coup, and so for me, that was a big a moment for me because I didn't know what to do. So I ended up doing all kinds of things. We were talking about divine, hand in your life. Here was I when I was in Kitab. I was able to do things that brought in money.
Okay.
Like money. We made films and made
entrepreneurship.
So here is the case that I was confronted with this situation.
Right.
And quickly, the experience then when I was able to deploy that immediately to be able to raise enough money to help to pay my school fees. There was this drink called Picola.
Right.
That was introduced by
it had some very interesting commercials
and all that. Yes, those commercials were produced by the late Mr. Kofi Buckner.
Right.
Yeah. So this company was Focal Point.
Right.
So I was one of the first to take drinks out of that company because one of my auntie's husbands worked there and arranged for me to get some allocation to sell. So I started selling drinks. Yeah. So I was going around the airport area, airport market, introducing these small shops to the drink. My pitch was, it's a new drink. It's just like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, and you can try it. I'll give you a crate. I'll come back after 2 or 3 days to see what the sales are like. And, within a week they were selling. And then
my mind goes back to
No.
My mind goes back to that song you were singing when you were selling the films. The song you don't want to teach me.
Yes.
It's interesting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Little experiences you do for fun turning themselves into what you are doing to earn a living.
Yeah.
So you added one more block to your career, which is sales. Sales entrepreneurship,
yes,
selling drinks. And I was just saying that, listen, no matter how much you teach entrepreneurship in the classroom, when the rubber hits the road, when the foot hits the ground, that's when you really experience it.
Yes.
What did that do to you?
Well, it made me very confident. Actually, I was quite a shy person, very shy to the point that unless I am on stage or I am in the center of something, you will not quite know what I'm capable of doing because I'm very, I don't think it's being humble. I'm humble, but it's shy. I'm very shy.
Like an introvert
kind of person.
Writing your scripts and doing your films and talking.
Things, yes. And that was what, but when you step out and because your livelihood depends on it, you have to step forward and make it count. You sell out to the people.
And that builds confidence.
And some people would reject you. I always say that there's only 2 answers you can get, which is yes or no. So why do you stop yourself at no? You may get yes. If you get no too, you would learn how to put it properly so you get a yes.
2 answers that you will get to every pitch you make in life, either a yes or a no. The yes means you can proceed. The no means you learn a lesson and keep trying. Those are the thoughts of Ivan Quashigah, CEO of Farmhouse Productions, working with me through the story of his life and especially those unknown bits. And if you've been tracking this with us, we've spoken about the introduction to film, advertising, and business. We've spoken about mentorship from his head teacher and also from Mr. Atuyani. We've spoken about the gradual pull of destiny. We've spoken about pursuing a dream and going to NAFTI even though people thought he had made a mistake. We've spoken about responding to adversity and selling drinks, following after his earlier experience with selling in his village or in his town at Kita. And when we come back from this break, we'll find out how did all these experiences influence his life post-NAFTI, and especially what he is doing now as CEO of Farmhouse. Please don't go away.
In a world where you can be anything, who will you become? When you can go anywhere and never be alone, how far will you go? When your voice can reach every ear in the world, who will you inspire? When your money can travel faster and further, who will it reach? When you can tell a story in every language, which one will you tell? When you don't need permission to turn your dreams into reality, you go for it. Whatever it is, wherever it is, go. And when you think you've reached your limit, we'll keep you going. Let's go.
There once was a man who had it all. He had skill, he had charisma. He was loved by all, but above all, he knew the importance of helping others, lifting others up. He knew the importance of giving other people an advantage so that they too would use that advantage to help others. All you need is that advantage that sets you apart from the rest. And when you discover that advantage, life's challenges don't seem so daunting anymore. That's where we come in. Enterprise, your advantage.
UMB was established in 1972 as the premier bank for the corporate and private sector in Ghana. From our very beginning, as the only Ghanaian bank serving all categories of businesses, we set a standard for excellence and innovation over the past 45 years. We've built a financially healthy and strong bank, demonstrated our commitment to our customers and to growing businesses, and exhibited originality and innovation at every turn. At UMB, our focus is built around people, service, products and technology. These are the key to our present success and our future triumphs. At UMB, we're poised to make a difference not only with our customers, but also in the banking industry. We invite you to share in our future. Our future starts now with you.
Welcome back to Springboard, your virtual university, brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with the Multimedia Group and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse, the Enterprise Group, UMB Bank, with media support from the graphic business. On Tuesday, this is my invitation. Get your graphic business and go to page 18 and you see the full transcript of this conversation with Ivan Quashigah, the CEO of Farmhouse Productions, my good friend, and he's helping us to unpack the story of his life and the big lessons. And the big thing so far for me, Ivan, is how seemingly unimportant things, informal things, casual things from your childhood are almost coming together in a big way in what you are doing as a top professional in your field. We ended off on NAFTI and the seeming misfortune of having your father detained in your very first year and having to raise funds. So while your mates were learning, you were selling people. How do you finance the rest of your education?
Well, I mean, the first year of NAFTI was quite difficult for me. I was looking all over the place for support. And I was working. I was also, I joined the camera crew, the camera department of the ICGC, then at Bedding Power Hall. And so I was learning also from Dr. Otabel. But I spent a lot of time writing applications for scholarship and all that. One day I was called to the administration. And I kept asking questions too about what is possible and what we can do and all that. And then, I don't know how, but then they invited me there and told me. Because I think they used to see me sitting down very quiet. So they thought that the detention of my dad was weighing on me. So they invited me to Frederick Ebert Foundation. And I was given a scholarship, and which meant that I didn't have to worry about school fees from second year to the final year.
I'm sure that was a big
That
deal
was
for
a
you.
big relief. So all I needed to do was to work and feed myself and be in school. That's all.
Wow. That must have been a big game changer.
Yeah.
Talking about your time at NAFTI, what was the defining attribute for you, looking back after all these years?
Well, I think that the thing that made me quite different then, was that I like to ask a lot of questions. I wanted to know, when we were in church, Reverend Otabil used to teach about, writing down your goals and, following through and thinking about them, seeing them every day. So my goals then was that by the time I complete school, I needed to make a big impact in the industry. I needed to be seen and acknowledged as a good product. It is only if I'm able to do that I would be able to live well. So I started asking questions from first year. How can this be done? How can that be done? And who are the people that have won the most awards? And is it possible to win more than them? And those kind of things.
Did it sound funny?
Yeah, some people
would
think that I was ambitious, but I think that when you write these things down, it may be quite ambitious, unattainable, but the more every day you look at it, every day you look at these goals that you put down, and somehow things just start turning around for you, and the next thing you notice, you would get it. Let me tell you this:
Did you win the awards?
My second year film, right from first year, I knew that if I produce a documentary film in the second year and it is good enough, I will be able to win an award for it. And then I produce a feature film in the final year. I should be able to do that film so well that it can win this many awards. And when you add a documentary to it, then I would achieve the goal. And it happened,
But, just to swing back to my conversation recently with Seth Kwame Boateng, who said he wrote his acceptance speech for his award years before
the
because
award.
he knew you win
You
the award.
win it.
So you were sure you win it.
Of course.
But you didn't write a speech.
No.
Let's move on to post-NAFTI. Everyone does national service and then moves on to start their career and then gets posted, tries different things. What was the route like for you?
When we were completing NAFTI, then you have the opportunity to work at GBC, Ghana Films, or NAFTI itself.
Which one did you
I was thinking of going to be a TA at NAFTI because I thought I was that good. Then when the postings came, they said my posting was, my form was taken by somebody at the National Service Headquarters. She was Prudence Smith. It was a British volunteer that had come to work with a photo unit of the National Service Headquarters and went to NAFTI to find out who are the best NAFTI students coming out. And somebody mentioned my name, and then she went and picked my form. And then I was asked that's where I could go. And some people would go back to the National Service Headquarters and change their postings. I couldn't because they picked me. So there was nothing. I wept. Actually, I was like, how? Because I thought I had my future mapped out well by myself, and I thought I was on the right track. But lo and behold, I had to go to the National Service.
So what did you end up doing there?
I worked at the photo unit, and we had to produce the 20th anniversary documentary of the National Service Scheme, which meant that I had to go around every district, every region in this country. And it was mind-blowing. I saw everywhere for free because they paid my transport, per diem, hotel.
Did you go and apologize to Madam Smith?
I told her later on that we became very good friends, and she was very instrumental in my setting up of Farmhouse. I'll tell you how. But I mean, I ended up enjoying the ride. I mean, my national service was one of the best moments because I saw places that I wouldn't have seen if I had gone to work at the places I thought I should be. And then I ended up doing things that I wouldn't have done because over there I had to be the cameraman at a certain point, sound man, lighting man, had to combine everything like a one-man film crew on many occasions. And that actually trained me to be able to do a lot later when I entered into advertising.
Help me to appreciate your time at Lintas, and then we'll come to your time at Farmhouse. Of course, Farmhouse is your own entity. But let's talk about Lintas, your time at Lintas.
Well, so I joined Lintas, I think around 1993, as a copywriter, radio, TV producer. I had gone there to see Mr. Bechebelamte because my dad said to go and see him because there was...
Everyone called him Jake.
Hey, Jake, because my senior, who was also my mentor, the late Dan Kema, was there and said to me that there was no space because they had just employed some people. So I thought Jake could help me get a job at another place. And then he saw my CV and said, young man, why do you think we would ask you to go to another place? Come on, go and sit down there. So that was how I got my...
You went to Lintas to look
for him to link me to another place.
In a competitor.
And then he offered...
Not on my life.
So that's how I ended up there. But one thing that I learned from my dad was you need to make a mark in whatever situation that you find yourself in. You need to grab everything and do it to the best of your ability. So initially, I was treated like, okay, he's new, he didn't know anything. I'll tell you this story. My first break in writing commercials, we were to write a commercial for, at that time it was UAC Textiles. And UAC Textiles was coming out after a long time. They were coming out with this, a new fabric. Then they were doing colors. They were doing yellow CC for a long time, but now they were coming out. They had a new technology. They were coming out with some new wax prints, and they wanted to have a promotion. So we had this big trainer from Nigeria training us, and he was writing it. And because he wasn't from Ghana, he didn't quite know the local parlance and things like that. I had been sent to Nigeria, and I learned how Nigeria uses their local language in their commercials and all that. So when I came back, my concept was very simple, sika. So, but then they approved the other scripts. So when I went to record the voice for the other scripts, I believed so much in my concept that I made the voice person record, Mr. Amankwa Mpofo, record the Sika.
As a backup? As
a backup. Then we went for presentation at the Swan Mill with the big man himself, Mr. Yamson.
I can just imagine the building.
Yes. So we played this commercial. Then the ones that agency approved, that thought was coming from them, So we played that commercial. Mr. Yamson got up and went to stand at the window and was looking into the market. He wasn't paying attention to us. So we knew that we were on the verge of failing. So I quickly whispered to my boss, Jake, that I have the other commercial. Should I play it? At that point, you have to do it. He said, come on, play it. So I just rewind, I just turned the side B. I had it on side B of the cassette. Wow! So I pressed play, and the room was filled with Sika. Then the man turned and pointed at us and said, that's it.
Play it again.
Play that again, that was it. So when we got back, immediately my bosses started looking at me differently because they never thought that I could come up with something that would transform the campaign was so successful that the fabrics were named after it. Client wanted us to do a second installation of the promotion. So suddenly I started, like your clients your bosses would think that, okay, you are at this level, but then you show them that you can play at that level too. So lots of jobs, things were being thrown at me. Do this, do that, do this. But the biggest turning point was when my immediate boss had to go to Harare, and I had to handle all the accounts by myself.
Wow, and that was a turning point for you.
It was very difficult, but I had to find a way to do it. And I was so, you looking back, it was interesting because I got people like Sammy B, Azigiza Jr., Yo Fibru, all these people were not staff of the company, but I recruited them in on some allowance that when they do the job, we pay them.
So
and they were my legs. So they would go and record, they would write some of the commercials, and then under my guidance, we get these things going quickly. And it was like, you have to be very fast in getting things out very quickly. And so and very well done too. You can't just churn out rubbish. It has to be really, really well done.
Let me fast track to your work at Farmhouse. How have all these experiences shaped who you are as a CEO, who you are as a leader, who you are as a professional? Because every little part of the story has some relationship with who you are today.
I am today. Yeah, it's true. Because when I was there, I ended up doing Things We Do for Love, which was another big thing in the film industry, television-wise. And that sort of placed me in a position that I started thinking, at a point I started thinking that I could set up my own company. And again, Prudence Smith, the lady that Prudence, we call her Prue Smith actually, who worked with me at the National Service Headquarters, had come to Ghana to shoot. She went to Mali to shoot and came to Ghana with a camera and said to me, she brought this camera to film and she was going back. I said, are you taking it back? She said, no. Yes, but she wasn't going to use it anymore. And I said, then can I buy it? She said, yeah, sure, if you have the money. I didn't have much money, but I gave what I had. And she said, okay.
Wow.
And that was it.
That was the first camera.
So I had my one camera, and then that was what I was using till I.
Do you have a picture of yourself with that camera?
I do. So that is what about Farmhouse and what we do now. Most of the things I learned, but some of it I feel are part of me as a person, because ensuring that your clients are satisfied all the time is something that I learned from home. Making sure that my father's uniforms are ironed to the best, that he sees it and he's like, oh yeah, you've done a good job.
I've interviewed Anita Eskin, whose father was
General
military, General Eskin. I've interviewed a number of people who've talked about being the son, the daughter, the child of a military leader or person. I myself have some antecedents in that space, but what did that do to you in terms of your own formation and socialization?
There's nothing like a military a person's attention to detail. They are always so spot on. I remember I used to use a ruler to fix the badges on his shirt. You can't just use your eye to do it. He would see it and say there's something wrong with it. So you have to use a ruler. You have to measure the end point. So right now I can stand and look at a set and say it is crooked. And my staff would say how, and I would say go and measure this point and that point, and I can point it out to you that it is wrong.
So you use the ruler to measure.
Yeah, you have to. You have to get everything.
Ironing the uniform, what?
After you finish ironing, and this is like a whole ceremony. You've done like 1 hour on the ironing. Now fixing the badges, you have to now measure from the end of the pocket. One end of the pocket to the next end, and make sure everything is centered properly. And you can't get it wrong. And this is just like something he will wear, go in and come back. But you have to, yes,
you're like a Batman, the whole ceremony.
Yes, but you are doing it every day, day in, day out.
And
it has to be
been trained to the point where you can look at a set
and say
and
it's
determined.
it's not
Let's
right.
talk about the discipline of the military person, that certain rigor. Do you find yourself displaying it at work?
Well, I try to. My staff think I'm strict, but then I think it's all about wanting to be the best you can be all the time. So the training that my dad gave me, has put that into me. But I don't think that I'm bossy. I am friendly, but I try to push my staff to I mean, there's this thing they talk about, the 2 a.m. call. If I call you at 2 a.m., then it means you've done something that has made it impossible for me to sleep.
Wow.
So if I can't sleep, then you can't sleep. I mean,
So
we've done a job. I call even those that are contract staff. If you come to work with me and you haven't done, you don't deliver what I want, you are likely to get a call at midnight.
And their phones are off.
Well, I'll call you. The next time I'm able to get through, I'll tell you off.
Let's talk about what has become the most defining challenge for most businesses in the past couple of years, COVID, and how you responded as a leader.
Yeah, COVID. You know, when the COVID struck around the end of 2019, we at a farmhouse, we always know by the beginning of the year the number of jobs that we're going to be doing in a year, and we always knew our billings for the year. So we were quite, by the first quarter, we know what we're doing at the end of the year, and we are quite comfortable, and all we do is execution, because we do the proposals and all that. You win the jobs, and then you know you are doing this through the year. COVID struck, and all these jobs had to be put on hold. Some of them were cancelled, some of them were put on hold, and at that time, there was a very high level of uncertainty. We didn't know. We heard of some other companies that were laying their staff off. People were being given half pay and all that. So I called my staff and told them that, you know what, we are creative people. We need to be creative around every challenge that we face. So nobody was going to be asked to leave, and nobody was going to be made to take a half pay or anything. We would do our best. And so let's create something. From the experience of producing YOLO, which again, Things We Do for Love, became one of the biggest youth TV series, and showing it on YouTube, we realized the uptake on YouTube, and we knew how many people watch it, even per week. So we felt that, okay, what if we create a youth show, drama serial, and create an app, put it on the app, and advertise it through social media. So because we didn't have the money to do mainline media, we should be able to attract enough young people to this thing to go there to watch it, pay and watch it. And that way we will also be raising enough money to keep ourselves going whilst we go through this COVID era. We created Farmhouse Movies app. And by the time we launched it, I think 2020, December, within a short time we had hit like 50,000 downloads. We were approaching 100,000 downloads. It was going, young people were taking it because internet is fast. It's relatively fast. There's a lot of smartphones. And in fact, there are more phones in Ghana than people. We have over 40 million phones. And so it means that we could tap into that technology and use it to show our films. Right. And somehow Farmhouse Movies is now showing us the way to go around the issues, the problems that we face in the film industry in Ghana, in the sense that streaming movies on these platforms is the way to go. In a situation where we do not have the brick and mortar cinema houses for people to watch, It makes it accessible. You can watch it on the go, your films on the go. And, you know, like Netflix is there, people are watching in Ghana. We can also create our own platforms that people can use to access our work. And so that is what we are at now.
Right.
And it's a new business stream to what we do traditionally at Farmhouse Productions.
Let me pick from what you just said and travel back over four decades to Keta and to you taking a bell and going around to create demand for people to watch films and to get rewarded for it. And after getting to watch the film for free as your reward, taking the lessons from the film and creating your own version of the film with cardboard and matchsticks for people to pay with buffalo and sugarcane. Fast track 40 years later, and the same principle is being used now, enabled by technology to solve a demand problem and create bite-sized solutions that people can get conveniently on their phones and still pay you for it.
Yeah.
Is that not almost like the same story being retold
in
a
different
modern way?
Yeah.
What is the lesson for young entrepreneurs today, Ivan Quashigah?
Well, I think that young people, you need to look around. The first thing is that you need to look around and see what first. I believe that everybody has a talent. There's something that excites you. There's something that annoys you. There's something that when you think about, you would want to, do something about, whatever. So you must discover who you are. You must first look around and see what problems are there that you can solve. There are lots and lots of problems that are there that if you look carefully, you can find something that you can solve, excuse me, that people can pay you for. And the whole thing about entrepreneurship is finding problems, solving them for money.
Paid.
Yeah, that's it.
Find a problem, solve it,
and get paid for it.
And get paid for it.
That's it.
Let me end on a question about volunteering, because when you tell people find a problem, solve it, and get paid for it, someone will ask, what about those who are telling us to volunteer? Volunteer means go and do the thing. You are not paid for it, but you are using it to learn. Does that not fly in the face or contradict what you're saying about find a problem, solve it, and get paid? Must you always be paid for the problem you solve?
No, you don't often have to be paid for things. When we talk about volunteering, it's one very important part of your training. You cannot just get up and be who you are if you do not have enough experience. Volunteering would give you the experience that you need to be able to achieve something for yourself. When I was in NAFTI, all I needed to hear is of people, some of my senior people shooting somewhere, and I would find myself there just because it gives me the opportunity to see people at work and also to see what they are getting right and what they are not getting right. And so with that experience, when I get on my own set, I am able to work better. You can't come out of the classroom and be the best at whatever you've learned. You need to have practical experience, and volunteering gives you that practical experience. And for me, working for free pays you far more than whatever they would pay you for whatever you are doing.
How does it pay you? And that's my final question. How does
working for free pays you? Working for free would pay you for the rest of your life.
That is the big lesson from Ivan Quashigah. He says working for free will pay you for the rest of your life. Look on my Facebook page. That's the big question. Ivan says working for free is greater reward than working and getting paid, because working for free will pay you for the rest of your life. Do you agree or disagree? Let's have this big debate on social media. So if you've been tracking with us from the beginning of the hour, my conversation has been with Ivan Quashigah, the CEO of Farmhouse Productions, helping us to appreciate the journey of his life, and for me, the big thing, how the little dots have all connected to become who he is today. And if you are a regular here at the Virtual University and asking what are the big lessons, number one is about his introduction to films, advertising, and business, raised up between two cinema halls in Keta, Croydon and Premier, watching films for free and paying for it by advertising the films, and then also replicating the films in his own way with his friends and getting paid both fruit and sugar cane. Lesson 2 is about mentorship, particularly from Atuyani, who took him to set and was attracted by his reading, took him to set, and he saw all the big icons and was blown away. The third lesson is about the gradual pull of destiny, feeling that the unseen hand of God was guiding every step to who he is today. The fourth is about pursuing a dream. He went to NAFTI, and many thought he had made a mistake, and he himself had questions, but the conviction and the passion kept him there. The fifth is about responding to adversity. He says he went to NAFTI, and the very beginning, in fact, before he even started, his dad was detained, and that was a difficult moment, and he responded by selling drinks, P-Cola in particular, and that made him more confident, and he went on to get a scholarship later. The sixth one is about questions. What does it take to succeed? David said, what will be given to the one who will kill Goliath? He says he asked a lot of questions about awards and found out how to win awards, and he did go on to win the awards. Number 7 is about blessings in disguise. He says, national service was the posting he got. What he wanted was TA at NAFTI. And he says he cried in disappointment, but guess what? That rather became the springboard to traveling around the whole country, learning about different places, and becoming a more rounded person in his industry. The 8th one is about his first break, the sales pitch that did not work, the client who turned his face to the window, and then the Sika that turned the client's face back and became his turning point. Number 9 is about attention to detail. He says the son of a military man had to iron his father's clothes and use a ruler, a tape, to measure where to put the medals and the badges properly, and as a result, he can stand on set and accurately measure without any implements. Number 10 is about responding to COVID and challenging the staff to produce an alternative product that could earn them income without they having to reduce their salaries. Number 11 is a lesson for entrepreneurs. He says, find your talent, find what makes you happy, provide solutions, and then get paid for them. And my final question was about volunteering. Must you always get paid for what you do? He says, no. Service, or by extension, volunteering, is the biggest part of your training. And when you work and you don't get paid for it, you gain experience, and that is a greater reward than even getting paid, because it rewards you for the rest of your life. Let's continue this debate. Ivan, a big thank you to you for making time to be with us at Virtual University. What would you like us to take away from this conversation?
No, I'll just say that I'm really surprised at the number of points you took out of this. I didn't know that. We were making. I'm impressed.
It's a learning journey for us. We have built what we call a virtual university, and we are excited that we can have a relaxed, enjoyable conversation, and people can learn at all ages and have a rich debate about the learnings. My big learning from you, Ivan, is that every single experience in your life, even the seemingly unimportant ones, connect to make you who you are today. A big thank you to you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much.
And God bless Team Farmhouse.
Thank you.
So this has been our show for today in the engine room with Ivan Quashigah, CEO of Farmhouse Productions. My name is Albert Ocran, thanking you on behalf of the Springboard Roadshow Foundation, the Multimedia Group, UMB Bank, the Enterprise Group, our big partners, MTN Pulse, and of course, the date with the graphic business on Tuesday on page 18 with Ivan Quashigah. Till then, my name is Albert, saying God bless you, and God bless you.